the Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Hello, Cherries fans, and welcome to this latest show here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Now, please do us a favour. If you are new here, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell button below. It helps this channel to grow. Also, a big shout out to both of our sponsors. Firstly, Touchpoint Telecoms. Visit them at touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. Mark and the team will be able to help you and be able to cover your business telecoms needs from Bristol to Somerset. That's not far, but Somerset to Wiltshire, Essex to Berkshire, and everywhere in between. So get in contact with Mark and the team there. Also, get in contact with Dental on the Banks if you need your teeth doing. And here's a little bit more about them now.
I should be like you, Melvin.
To find out more about Dental on the Banks, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. So, of course, the season is fast approaching. We're nearly there, Cherries fans. We're nearly there. And today we are going to go through every single player in the Cherries lineup and what they might need to improve and whether or not their futures really lie away from Dean Court if it's in their best interests. Let's find out. It is a pleasure to welcome, though, back onto the show, Sean. Welcome back to the show, Sean. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a busy day.
Yes, likewise. It is non-stop. And this video is named after I'll spit my words out in a second. The D-Ream song. Things will only get better. Cherries can only get better. And what we're going to discuss today is the Cherries that will need to take their chance next season when they get them, but also the players and what they might need to work on to become even better. To be honest, after such a good season, it's hard to pinpoint certain things, but you've been doing that. So it's going to be interesting to see what you come up with as well, Sean, won't it?
Yeah, some players certainly use a lot trickier than others to try to figure out things to do.
Yes, yeah. So where shall we start? Shall we start with the goalkeeping department? Of course, it looks like Jordi Petrovic, our new signing from Chelsea, is going to be between the sticks. But we do have 4 other goalkeepers on the books. It is likely that some of those may be loaned out to other squads. But Sean, let's go through each of those and let's start off with probably, a goalkeeper who would have been a little bit disappointed to have lost their place all that time ago, but it doesn't feel like he's going to have much of a opportunity in the first team. That's Neto.
Yeah, I think Neto, going through the keepers, I would say Neto to me will be second choice. Goalkeeping department, you generally don't get injured as goalkeeper. Touch wood, being Bournemouth. But Yeah, to me, he's got the most experience. I would have loved Mark Travis. He would have been perfect for the backup, but
Yeah.
that can't happen. So Neto is probably the next most experienced, and that he's sat at the bench at Arsenal. So obviously he's fairly fine with doing that kind of thing. And I doubt he'll be needed. But as I say, he's not a bad keeper. It's just something he's not commanding enough of me and stuff like that. But as a backup, which is very unlikely needed, and with the wages, I don't see any other club really willing to take him on. A player that hasn't played for basically 2 years, once in 2 years. I don't see any team wanting to take him on. So may as well use him for us.
We do give Simon Francis and, of course, Richard Hughes before him and Thiago Pinto a lot of credit for what they do in the transfer market. But could this be one of their failings, that giving Neto such a long contract and such a lucrative contract that it's now very difficult to shift him?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Cherry fans seems to, including me, not understand why he was given such a big contract, certainly bigger wages. It's
Yeah.
such a thing, but yeah, that's what he was given, and I guess we'll never really know. But obviously, there's other keepers. Though
Hmm.
looking through them, I'm saying that I believe Neto will be second choice. It's not actually who I want to be second choice. So I'll see if you guess who it's going to be for that.
Of course. To be honest, I would have loved to have seen Mark Travis stay. I don't know why he's gone to Everton, like I said in the other video. It does not make any sense to me why he's gone there to play second fiddle to Jordan Pickford, easily the best goalkeeper England's had for some time. So, hey, you know, who are we to say? You never know. He might dislodge Jordan, but I think it's going to be a difficult task. But I can probably guess the goalkeeper that you're talking about is Alex Paulson. Of course, he was on loan last season at Auckland FC, come from Wellington Phoenix originally. Of course, they weren't very happy about it because taking AFC Bournemouth taking him from one team and then loaning him out to this brand new franchise that Bill Foley had created. Yeah, it wasn't all it was going to go down like a lead balloon in the first place, but I'm guessing he's probably the man, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, if you got to look into the future, and that's why I don't think Neto you can be looking as the future. So you got between Alex or Will Dennis at the end of the day. Obviously, Will Dennis was our second choice last season, so he's had a good amount of training and he's been on the bench. But I think it's now to the point where he's got to get out there. So it's a case to reverse the role where Alex can come in for some cup games and stuff like that. And I think it works out quite a nice way. Because of the injury, usually not with goalkeepers, it's a fairly safe gamble to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think Alex Paulson should be number 2 here next season and should get significant game time. Hey, I think we're probably going to have to let Neto go on loan to somebody else if they are going to pay part of his wages. Maybe Italy, maybe Spain. Who knows? But you mentioned there Will Dennis. I think, of course, he is a goalkeeper. He's a very, very talented goalkeeper who's been here for some time, as has Cal McKenna, to be fair. But do you think those two need to go out on loan just to get a little bit more under their belt?
I think Alex doesn't need to go on loan because he needs to get used to our system. And
Yeah,
I think a year on the bench should be brilliant for him. What I've actually put down as what I think will happen is that, as I say, Neto will be his second choice. Will Dennis will be sent out ideally mid top half championship, where they'll
yeah,
get it. I think it'll be Bournemouth championship, but that, and then Alex to probably League One. Yeah, you want to go as high as possible, but you've got to think of where he's played Australian League. I don't think you could say it's much more than League One level. I don't know if you know it that
yeah.
well, but so you got to be looking the same kind of level for him to go out. Maybe a bottom half championship team that is a surprise package kind of thing. But yeah, I think they'll both go on loan.
There was a lot of attention last year on League One, of course, because of Birmingham City being relegated and being pumped with money. And of course, you had Hollywood in there with Wrexham. But I think I would hope that Alex Paulson gets the number 2 jersey. Neto, if we can't sell him, goes out on loan, and a significant amount of wages is paid, as will Dennis and of course Cal McKenna as well, who I personally think, those two will be for the future. But I think for now, it's definitely some 2 players that maybe we just have to, let them go out on loan and see how they get on, and I think Cal McKenna, he could walk into a League One side, maybe look at Wimbledon. That might be
Mm.
an option. Aaron Ramsdale went there and he did very, very well, and it didn't hurt him. So maybe AFC Wimbledon might be maybe a destination for him, for the future. But I tell you what, let's move off the goalkeepers, because I think it's quite an obvious one that Jordi Petrovic is going to get the nod. But let's talk about our defenders. And where are you going first with the defence, Sean?
Well, let's see. The Truffert, Truffert, his name is that.
Truffert, Adrian
Yeah.
Truffert.
I thought he's got to be better than Kirkers. That's what everyone's going to aim. You might not want it, but that's what. If a player leaves, you're going to be compared to the player. So as for a target, is simple: show consistency and attacking threat. You got an Andoni system. You want to stand out. It's attacking threat. That's what made Kirkers so big. And he's not doing too bad so far, because he's, I believe, scored 2 goals in the friendly already.
Yeah, he got a brace against Bristol City, yeah.
So not a bad start, Simon, without even seeing him play, really. So yeah, I would start with him.
It looks like, from what I've seen, it's very much like for like against Kirkes. Do I think he's better than Kirkes? People have said it.
Yeah,
But then again, people, like Alejo Rivera, when he come on here, he said that Julio Sola is going to be better than Kirkes. I don't think Julio Sola is there at the moment, but there is certainly the potential, and that's the big word with this squad, is the potential. Kirkes is an amazing left back, and left backs are always very, very difficult players to come by because there is a shortage of them. Left footers, normally people kick with their right. Also, having that speed and that agility to move forwards, to get a good left back, can sometimes be a very, very hard job. And I remember, if you watch back the Premier League days of, the early noughties, there wasn't abundance of great left backs at that time. Yeah, we know the obvious names, but honestly, I think that what Frano and Thiago Pinto have done is found, players that will fit straight in to that position, and have got that potential. So it's exciting, and it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But talking about Julio Sola, you saw him a couple of times last season. What do you think he needs to potentially work on to make himself get better and also challenge for that position?
So, with him, I put it down to confidence. I remember watching him, and I thought that he was very similar to Kirkes, but he just seemed to have that bit of lack of confidence. He was trying to go forward, but not fully committing. And to me, he seemed like basically Kirkes at the beginning. So the only worry I've got, obviously, with Truffert coming in, he doesn't knock his confidence more. I hope that he gets that training and he'll get good cup games. And with Andoni's system, we're switching around that, he'll get good minutes in that. But he's a young Kirkes, the way I would describe him.
He's a very, very young player. And to be honest, I think we need to keep him here to nurture him. Send him out on loan is probably not the right thing to do for a player like that. But working alongside Truffert, adapting, learning from each other, could really, really excel these players. So, yeah, I think those two. It'll be interesting to see how many games each of them gets. But let's go a little bit more into the centre. And of course, we've got our choices, but of course, we're missing Dean House, and Zabania might be going, but we've got, of course, James Hill, we've got Chris Metham back, Marcos Senesi. So there's a lot of talent there, but what do you think that these players need to do to maybe step up to the next level? Because there's a big gap there at this moment in time,
Yeah.
unless you sign somebody.
I mean, Metham, I think he'll be sent out on loan, but
Mhm.
I remember he's always been very consistent, but he's never had that wow factor. And I think,
Yeah,
when I say we're an only system, players standing out, and you want that starting lineup, you have to have that wow factor. I put him down that I would love for him to stay and be fourth choice. There's not many players that would like that, but
no,
that's the thing.
exactly.
He would have that. He'd give me confidence that if there's loads of injuries, we got someone that could just step in, do a job, and that. But yeah, I don't think that. As for Senesi, I well, my starting lineup doesn't have Senesi, put it that way. My starting lineup actually has James Hill instead
Yeah,
of Senesi. Um, so Senesi has to fight for getting his place back. He lost it to
yeah,
Dino, and he's got to fight to get it back. He didn't really do anything particularly wrong in that. It was just a case of Dino was another class level above him.
yeah.
So yeah, he needs to just fight to get that place and work with Zabs, because obviously Zabs, presuming he's staying, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
He's going to get that teamwork, because Dino and Zabs, one of the reasons why they work so well together, it's just they seem to play off each other. If
Mhm.
Zab missed the ball or whatever, Dino would pick it up and vice versa. So if Senesi does get the chance, he needs to take it and get that partnership. I think that's the main thing with him.
Yeah, and I think he needs to get that quite quickly, doesn't he, really, if he
Mm,
does get that opportunity. Senesi was so unlucky last season. He was incredibly unlucky, to be perfectly honest, because he got that injury. And then Dean Howson come in, and let's be fair, he was replaced, due to injury by probably the best youngster we've ever seen come
yeah,
into, we've had Nathan Ake, who is an incredible defender. But Dean Howson was something else, just the commanding presence, his tool. He made it look so easy, made it look simple. He is, whereas players of his age group, of his, you know, of or what players at his age would be going to Real Madrid and
mm,
expecting to start. He's an incredible talent, who of course we was never going to keep hold of. But I kind of agree with you on that, Sean, because James
mm,
Hill did look very assured when he come in. I don't think Senesi did really particularly well when he did get his opportunities from Dean Howson last season. He's a player that I do really like. He's got it in the locker. So maybe with a little bit of prolonged time, Senesi could get himself back into that position with Zabanier. But James Hill, do you think he works better with Zabanier?
Um, yeah, I think Hill's a bit more versatile as well.
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, Hill's done right back as well, as long as doing the central defence. So
yeah,
whereas Senesi's done central defence and that, and only loves players that are young and can go in different places. So I say Hill for me would edge it above, and yeah, I thought there's never been anything bad I've heard of either player, but I say Hill's more flexible and I think more of an Andoni player.
and of course Owen Bevan, he is going to probably be on the outskirts, but hopefully we'll get a few minutes, if not just a lone move out, to
Mm.
get a little bit of experience. But talking about young players, Adam Smith, our right back, our only real right back at the club, but he is an absolute legend, a stalwart of the game.
Mm.
And what does Smithy have to work on? You know, to be honest, he's such a talented. He knows the map. He knows football inside out. He goes about his business quietly. I really like the man, both personally as well as a footballer. But age does catch up with you. I know. I'm 39
Mm.
years old. You know, if you asked me 6 years ago to run around a pitch for 90 minutes, I probably could do it. Now, if you asked me to run around the pitch for 20 minutes, I probably would keel over. So Adam Smith, he looks after himself a lot better than me, but what does he have to think about to make sure that he doesn't get caught out next season, as he is the oldest player in the squad?
Yeah, I mean, the first note I put on there is straight away that he needs to reveal how he seems to be getting younger all the time. Because every
He
season he
does.
just seems to be improving all the time. So he really needs to share that secret to the squad.
Yeah.
But yeah, he keeps improving. And when you think, I can honestly, I can see that he is getting more tired. The legs, it is starting to show, but he's just adjusting better. And that
Yeah.
is a skill, really, really amazing skill to be able to adjust yourself. A lot of players just can't adjust to changing different system, or
Mhm.
they only rely on pace and then they lose the pace and then they're no good. He's doing the opposite. He's losing some of the pace, but he's adjusting for it. He knows when to go for it. And I remember seeing him still up the top of the end of the pitch and thinking, what the hell's he doing up there? But there's no weakness at the back. He knows when to do
Yeah.
it. And I think that's what he's got to do. But if, let's say, reveal me another choice of me first team and that, I put Julian as thinking about the future. He needs to be there, and I want Smith to be Mr. Reliable as a backup to him, and Julian can learn so much from Smith, and I think that's the way I would want it to be. Um, and I think Smith is going to be one of those players that is just going to stay here forever. And when he can't play anymore, he'll want to go in the coaching and that. I just got a feeling he's going to be one of those players. And yeah, Julian can learn lots from Smith. I mean, even Dango, my favourite player.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had to adjust his position to be left back and that. So there's lots of different players that can help each
Mhm.
other, and that's why I see Smith as a future. Not so much there, just the cover when needed and that kind of thing. But as for improving, well, he surprises us every season. But I don't know how much more we can improve.
To be honest, I nearly missed out Julian Arejo there. And I'd apologise, Julian, if you are watching. I don't think you probably will be, but I do apologise because he is a right back, of course. But, but I think he's very naive, Julian Arejo, and I think this is where Adam Smith's knowledge and his experience is going to come in. I think Smith is a future captain of this football club. I think he's somebody who will, coach and help the younger players. I'd love to see Steve Cook back here one day, and I think I will do. I think Steve Cook will become one of the coaching staff. In fact, I'd put money on it. But the one thing that Adam Smith has done, if you remember and cast your mind back, and I've said this story a couple of times on here, to a game against Brighton Hove Albion. I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday night. It was a really weird day of the week. And of course, he was coming up against Matoma. And Matoma was tearing past Adam Smith. And the problem was Smithy was getting just too close to Matoma. He was getting too close and too compact. And Matoma was basically spinning him. That's how it felt. That was under Gary O'Neill. Now, this is where Andoni Iraola is such a good coach. And this is where Gary O'Neill, as much as I praised him at the time, I personally think he needs to learn. Is because what Adam Smith has done is he's dropped off that attacker a little bit. He's given that attacker a little bit more time, which might sound crazy to anybody who's not played the game, but it gives you that bit more reaction time. It gives you a bit more time to actually position yourself in the right spot to stop that player getting past you. You could also get that get another player, be it Zabania or James Hill, involved to actually come across and actually provide those legs which you might not have, if they do get past you. So I'm very, very impressed. And like you say, Adam Smith, I think he's 33 now. I might have aged you a little bit there, Adam, but I do apologize if I have. But to be honest, he's not showing, his age at all. He's 34. See, I've even made him younger. 34 years old. I think he's an outstanding player, and I think he'll be an outstanding player for years to come. He is at his twilight years here, unfortunately. But providing and considering what he does, I think he's got, a little bit more time with us left. But one of his big missions, that I think Adam Smith has to do is actually train Julian Arejo to actually become a better right back, because
Yeah, that's
Julian,
what I mean.
do you think he's a little bit naive? He just comes forwards. He's pacey. He's got speed in abundance. If you do, if you race Adam Smith against Julian Arejo, it wouldn't really be a fair race, because Julian Arejo is incredibly fast, and Adam Smith, of course, is aging. But
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
Julian's probably out of the me first team that I'm starting. Julian's probably sounds horrible, but the least confident one I'm in.
yeah,
But at the same time, I think for his weaknesses, he's also got the best trainer in Smith. So
exactly, yeah.
that's where hopefully they can play off each other, and confidence in a player is such a massive thing, and they maybe that for Julian as well will make a big difference.
I completely agree. And whilst, Julian might be a little bit disappointed that, he can't dislodge Adam Smith straight away, I think he needs to stay with it, because at the same time, I think he's got, like you say, Sean, the best trainer in the whole team, the most experienced in the whole team, which leads us on quite nicely to our midfield. And I tell you what, let's touch upon this man firstly, Lewis Cook. I remember when he come into this football club, from Leeds United, incredible signing, really, really exciting signing as well, and I thought, wow, he's going to do something. And unfortunately, I think what held him back was his injuries. But he seems to have put that all behind him. And he just gets better and better. And he's experienced. He knows what he's doing. He's probably at the peak of his career as well at 28 years old.
Yeah, I'm with Lewis Cook. This might be controversial, but to me, he's just edged out of the team.
Ooh,
Yeah, I know. I said I'll be
talk to me.
controversial.
Talk to me. Talk to me, Sean. Why?
Well, first of all, if he does get into the team,
Yeah.
first of all, he's got to. One of the reasons is because Andrew Sherman, Mr. Reliable, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And when I think of Lewis Cook, I straight away think Mr. Reliable, nothing big, but always there, will always get that tackle in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want to be an Andoni system, you want to stand out. And when I think of Lewis Cook, I just keep thinking of Andrew Sherman and thinking Mr. Consistent. And that's not a stay in the team player for me. So I say they've said about him getting to England, trying to get him to England squad, but he's never actually been involved in the England squad or mentioned about it. But everyone says he's good enough, but there's a reason why he doesn't get into that extra step. And I think he's missing that extra thing. I mean, for midfield, for me, this is where it's between Adams and Lewis Cook. I'd float between two of them. it's very awkward because I would have Scott and Christie kind of
Yeah.
in the thing as the other two. Adams and Lewis Cook is the very close between them. So, yeah, he's just missing that extra factor to keep him in the squad.
He did get 20 minutes against Italy, remember? He did get 20
Oh,
minutes. But yeah,
what
it
was
was.
that, under 21s or something?
No, it was the full team. It was the full
Was it?
team. It was actually, yeah, it was a qualifier for the 2018 World Cup in Russia, of course. And yeah, unfortunately, do you know the thing with Lewis Cook? What really frustrates me, and not Lewis himself, but if he wasn't so injury prone, I think he would have got his chance in the England setup. I think it might have actually pushed him on a little bit more as a player. But, he is somebody who you say is reliable, dependable. He knows what he's doing. He's confident. I really, really like him. And of course, he can play that right back position. He said a lot for Max Aarons that Lewis Cook was moved into that right back position as opposed to playing Max. So, yeah, Lewis Cook for me would be a mainstay in the team. But Tyler Adams, like you say, it's tight between them. But what do you think? What do you think Tyler Adams maybe shaves?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole American thing. I know that's not very player stats based or stuff like that. Um, we like kind of the American thing, and he's a bit more gritty and that kind of stuff. And when you are
Yeah,
being the defensive midfielder, um, I think sometimes you need that extra bit of grit and
yeah,
that. And it's not like he's gained loads of yellow cards like a certain other player further forward that can
yes,
get. But yeah, he's a bit more gritty, and I think given the positions where they'll be and where Lewis Cook, if I was saying between the two of them, I think Adams edges it with that kind of thing. And but it is good with Lewis Cook. I wonder how
yeah.
many fantasy teams or whatever would put Lewis Cook as right back to start off with. That'd be interesting.
It would be quite interesting actually, because I think he did a great job there. Let's talk about the players that maybe won't be with the squad, and touch on them very quickly. But Roman Faber, of course, Hamid Traore, and Phil Billing. Of course, Phil Billing has a Serie A winners medal. Of course, with his time with Napoli. Who would have ever thought that? Who would have ever thought that? But um, can you see any of them playing a part next season, really? And what do they need
um,
to do to actually play a part?
well, all I put, to be honest, because I know there's absolutely no chance of them playing. I don't see them being even on the bench or anything like that, except for Billing. But so the other two I've just marked down as if they get a chance, just take it, same as any
Yeah,
player. But otherwise, they're going to be sold, I reckon. Billing is a very awkward one because he's proven he can score. He's proven he can play in the Premier League. He proves he offers something different in that. And sometimes teams need a plan B, C, D, whatever, and stuff like
yeah,
that. And Andoni's proven that he likes floating around with different ideas. Right at the end of the season, when we had Tavernier number 10 role, he said, "Oh, maybe we should try that a bit more." So he's proven that. And I would like Billing to keep around because even when he has made those little appearances, I don't know if it's different for you. I know a few fans have said they're not that impressed with him, but I thought he was still okay. He wasn't out this world, but I think he still did a job. So I would like him to stick around. So we've got that in case of injuries and that. And if we want to go for Europe, at the end of the day, we need to make sure we've got that squad
yeah,
depth. And I think Billing is a brilliant different option. But if the more quality you've got, like Billing has, less chance they're willing to stick around being third, fourth, fifth choice. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that he's going to be sold, to be honest, or out on loan, but probably sold. But I would love him to stick around as a different option if needed.
And he is a different option. He is a curveball for our team. One thing that I've always noticed with Philip Billing, though, and this is something as well that I've been told, is he is purely a confidence player. If his confidence isn't up,
Mm.
and if you remember quite a few years back again, game against Leicester City, and we went 1-0 down, and then Phil Billing come off the bench and looked. I know that he wasn't. This is the thing with Phil Billing. I know that he wasn't disinterested in the match. You know, he
No.
was interested in it. He wanted to play, but as soon as he scored his goal, it was just like a whole different Philip Billing just evolved, and that is what I think he's all about. Is all confidence. I think Roman Favre isn't actually good enough at this point in time.
Mm.
I think he might potentially get there, but he's one of those players coming from the French league can sometimes struggle a little bit. And he's flamboyant and he's got lots of skill, but I think he probably needs, and I would say, a loan to the Championship would make perfect sense for Roman Favre. See how he gets on in that division, see
Mm.
how he can adapt to the English game, and see how he can really progress. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he can do it. Hamo Traore, I don't think he's got any chance at all, and neither do I think that honestly he really wants to be here. He's a very talented player, but he's one of those luxury players. I remember his first game for the club, and he was really really good. Really promising. He was a real threat down the centre, and since then, it seems like he's kind of been frozen out, not just by Gary O'Neill before him, but Andoni Iraola. So maybe just doesn't fit into the style. He's a weird
Mm.
one. He's a weird one because he is a luxury player. I think what he needs to work on, if he really is determined to get his place at Bournemouth, is kind of adapting to the style of the football that we play. And there's been a couple of players throughout the years where you think, wow, they're impressive, but they just can't seem to adapt to the football club where they're playing. So, yeah, for me, Hamo Traore, I think is probably gone. But I'll tell you what, let's touch upon some of the other players as well there before we get on to one of your favourites. Alex Scott.
I don't know who you could be on about.
I know. Alex Scott, David Brooks, Marcus Tavernier, and Ryan Christie. Three very, very solid players. Let's start off with Brooksy, who has been remarkable after overcoming Hodgkin lymphoma. Um, what does Brooksy need to do, though, considering this is an Andoni Iraola side rather than, what he was used to under Eddie Howe, what he was used to under Scott Parker? What does Brooksy need to do?
I think with Brooks, he's been accused of being lightweight, being a bit pushed around. But he's going to be a very, very awkward player to decide if you're trying to predict whether he's going to be in lineup or loan or whatever,
Yeah.
because he's been sent out on loan, which you could say manager doesn't have confidence with him, or that he wants to get out and play, same as any other player. But at the same time, at the end of last season, I thought he was getting a good amount of consistency, and he was really starting. He wasn't so lightweight. He started to boss the play in that and taking chances. And so whether he's going to be willing to stick around and see if he still holds that place at all or not, I don't know. But yeah, I think strength and that bit of magic. Well, obviously, when we signed him in that, we was told he's going to be magic and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, a bit of strength and that magic.
Yeah.
And yeah, that. But whether he's going to be, what do you think he's going to be?
I love Brooksy. I think he's a brilliant player. I honestly do. And there's been times last season where I was like, Brooks has to be in the squad. And I've been really disappointed that he wasn't. I was disappointed that he went out on loan to Southampton. I'm disappointed that there was rumours that we potentially were going to sell David Brooks. I personally think that David Brooks has got so much to offer. I think, he's overcome one of the hardest things that, anybody can overcome in their entire life. But I personally think as well that, maybe he does need to be that little bit tougher. Maybe, the sort of players that we got, now on the wings. So, for example, Dango and Semenyo. Semenyo is, a rock. He's
Hmm.
got strength. He's got power. And he's quite scary. Maybe just maybe moving David Brooks into a more of a central role, from the bench might be an option. And I think Brooks is very adaptable. I don't
Yeah.
think he's got that strength. I don't think he's going to get that strength in him. I don't think he's had that throughout his career, even before what he went through. I personally think he's a very skillful player. He knows the game very, very well. He knows where to put the ball. He's a great player to have around. Just maybe that is what has been keeping him out a little bit more. And I would play him more centrally, which I think he'd be really adaptable and really good in.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with up front or attacking players and stuff
Yeah.
like that, that's probably our strongest suit. We've got so
Yes.
many players now to go on the wing, up front, and flex around and all that kind of stuff. Our defenders, there's a little bit of maneuverability, but not that much. And same as midfield, there's a lot of maneuverability.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brooks obviously easily one of the attacking players, so he's got very stiff competition. I mean, I'm putting down Dango and Semenyo on the wings, start
Yeah.
off, and then as backup, I'm actually putting Tavernier, but then I'll probably put Brooks as well as the kind of backup. But the fact I say he's gone off on loan, and that to me suggests he wants to play. So will he play or not? That's going to be very personal to him, I reckon, what's going to happen with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him if he went out on loan through his own accord. He is definitely a Premier League player. He can definitely, play in the Championship 100%. He's a real asset in that division. Um, honestly, honestly, I would say that maybe he needs a short-term loan on to another club just to keep his confidence going, keep playing football, because he's such a talented lad. It's a shame to see him on the bench after what he's been through. So yeah, I really like Brooksy, but you know. I think it might be dictated by him that he wants to play football. But Alex Scott, is of course a youngster player that took a hefty knock from Tyrone Mings, towards the end of last season. Um, a player that I really like. What do you think Alex Scott needs to work on?
Yeah, I mean, with Alex Scott, saw in the Euros he's still wearing the mask and that, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh God, please don't injure yourself. Are you actually all right to be going?" And glad he did, 'cause he won it and that. So he can't really
yes,
do any better and get more confidence. It worked out and that. But yeah, when I saw, it, I was like, "Oh my God, we don't want another injury for you. You've had so many injuries. Please be all right." Because I thought that the biggest issue with Scott has always been finding his place.
yeah,
He's been in so many different places in that, and never found quite the right position for him. But I think again, say so many players were to me improving the end of the season. I think he again, like Brooks, Scott was one of them. He started to get a bit more rougher and that, and he started to hold his place a lot better and that. And that's why I ain't got Lewis Cook in my starting lineup, because again, that could be a switch kind of thing and that.
yeah,
I think that looking forward to the future and that, and I think Scott has a bit more quality in that. But yeah, he just needs to continue off what he did last season, continue being a bit more aggressive, definitely avoid injuries, which is a
yes,
tricky to be an aggressive player
yeah,
and that. and show a little bit more quality, get those assists in maybe and stuff like that. Given his position away, I think he'll play more slightly forward. So yeah, that's why I'd go for him.
Yeah, I really like Alex Scott, but I think he's still got a lot of time to learn the game, and he will only get better. And his experience of winning a trophy at youth level is going to be massive for him. Marcus Tavernier, a player that for some people that I read like all these forums, these Bournemouth forums. I lurk around. I don't really comment on them, but he's a bit of a Marmite character for a lot of people. But he is possibly he scores the best goals. Let's be fair.
Yeah.
Some of the goals that he scores is absolutely sublime. I still can't believe that he scored that goal against Fulham a couple of years back, where to be honest, he had no divine right to score that goal, but it was incredible. I think he's a great option, but I think he's a player that maybe is going to find, rotation is going to be what he's going to be thrown into. I think it's going to be very, very rare he's going to play the full 90.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's similar what a lot of people said with Dango, impact sub.
Yeah.
When he starts doing the whole 90 minutes and that, I say fitness-wise, he just doesn't seem to be able to hold it. Another player, Kluivert, I would say, again, I haven't got him as starting because both of them aren't 90-minute players to me generally. But they do have quality in them. And especially with Tavernier, more than Kluivert, I think, Tavernier will change the game. Whenever he comes on as a sub and that, he quite often it seems to be a difference maker. So for him, obviously, he wants to be the starting lineup. So maybe get his fitness up. Maybe shows he's got the engine for the full 90 minutes. But what I think he'll end up doing, and hope he does, is going to be impact sub, like with what I said with Billing, where he'll make a difference when needed, give her different ideas. Maybe score a 40-yarder.
Yeah, exactly. He comes off the bench and scores a remarkable goal. I think, with Marcus Tavernier, one thing that I always think is he's not got 90 minutes in him. He's a player that, puts a lot of energy onto that pitch. He's not lazy at all in anywhere the slightest. Maybe sometimes you could say that he he doesn't find himself in the best positions. But he does work hard. And I think, it's rare to see him, complete the 90 minutes where you can say, yeah, for the whole 90 minutes, he was outstanding. So yeah, Marcus Tavernier, I think that's where he needs to work upon, probably being more of a 90-minute player, but an outstanding option and one of the best options you can get off the bench. And Ryan Christie, I to be honest, I don't think I need to really say much about Ryan Christie because I think, he's a battler. He's tough. He knows exactly, he's the glue in the middle. A lot of people outside of Bournemouth probably look at Ryan Christie and go, and don't pick him as being so integral as people see him, who watch him on a regular basis. It's only if you see a full game of 90 minutes, 90 plus minutes, that you realise how important this man is to this football club and how we play, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, with Christie, the first note I put on, similar to not Lewis Cook, Adam Smith with the age thing, Christie needs to share where he gets his engine from because that engine just keeps going on and on. It just doesn't stop, no matter what, no
He's
matter even the
Scottish,
way, it
that's
just goes out that way. And yeah, he needs to share where he's got that engine from. But yeah, I say for me, definitely, well, obviously he had the injury. Obviously, Andoni will know how fit he is when he comes back, but presuming he's gone back to full fitness, yeah, obviously he'd be starting lineup and that. The only thing from him becoming a big player is the same as another player, is taking chance of scoring goals.
Yeah, I can
He's had
understand
plenty of shots and that, and even on target isn't that often.
that.
I mean, he scored one this season. I think that's one more than last season, maybe. I don't know. I don't check the stats on that. But yeah, the main thing he needs is to be able to finish some of his chances, because I said I couldn't write really anything down negative or improvement on him beside that.
No, I think he does everything perfectly well. And if you was to watch Match of the Day, and we was on for what used to be our obligatory 5 minutes, last game of the show, put little old Bournemouth on there. You probably wouldn't notice him that much. You probably would,
Mm,
because it would be he doesn't get involved in as many goal scoring opportunities as but it's what else he does. It's the glue he does. It's how he brings other players in and manages that game from that center. So Ryan Christie, an absolute legend, and a real battler.
okay.
Unfortunately now 30 years old, so
Mm.
like you say, in the boat with Adam Smith, but he is Scottish, so no doubt he'll keep going and going and going and going.
So
I don't
I
know
would
what it
say,
is.
with one of the things though, actually through my Dango Semenyo stats and that,
Mm,
with through balls, Christie
yeah.
was actually on 8, one behind Semenyo. So he
Mm,
definitely does create the through balls and chances and that. So he is up there with that as well.
yes. Yes. No, very, very true. Very true. And
Just finishing.
yeah, exactly. I think he is so active, he's so involved that maybe, everything else gets very watered down, but he's such an important player and,
Yeah.
he's integral to our team. Right, floor's over to you. Dango Matara, Antoine Semenyo. Talk to me, Sean, because of course everybody's watched that video now. If they haven't, they can go and watch it. But Dango versus Semenyo, those two are very important, aren't they?
Yeah, I said I would put them as the starting lineup.
Yeah.
They need multiple players after them and that. They can get round players. They create chances and they're just unstoppable, especially on their day.
Mm,
There's not many defenders that would want to go against them.
no.
I say with Dango, I'd say absolute perfection. Nah, I'm joking. No, the thing with Dango,
Yeah.
they could learn from each other, to be honest.
Yeah.
Where Semenyo, I think he's a bit more of a selfish player, and that I think Dango needs to do that. Especially say the second half of the season, Dango seemed to be in better positions, be able to get around players better and doing crossing better and that. But if he wants to get that number one spot and want to stand out and get the big money move offers like Semenyo and that, then he needs to be getting more shots on goal and taking those chances. But then Semenyo, yeah, he gets lots of shots, but he needs to be actually finishing them. So maybe with him, he needs to get more with the assists and more of a team player. I say Dango needs
Yeah.
to be more selfish. Spaniel needs to be more of a team player. I mean, where was it? Did put it somewhere on here. There we go. That's the last
Sean's got all
page.
the stats.
Yeah, trying to
Got all the
bring.
stats. Here we go.
So he had Semenyo had 126 shots, 41 on target. Touches in the box was 210. Third place in the Premier League was 113. So he had almost double amount of touches in the box
Mm,
to third place in the Premier League. So he's in the positions,
yeah.
that's for sure. And if he's, I say, even without taking the shots, the fact he's in those positions, he could probably get in on those assists and helping teammates. So yeah, team player for Semenyo, bit more of a selfish player for Dango needed.
There we are. There we are. I tell you what, go watch our video because we really, really dissect those two and really put them up against each other. Let's look at Justin Kluivert, because a man who has really found his place under Andoni Iraola. There was rumours that other teams wanted him. I'm pleased to say at the moment nobody's coming for him, because I think Justin Kluivert is a player who lost his way elsewhere. Like I said, I went to Ajax's stadium and I spoke to somebody who'd been there for a long, long period of time, knew the Kluiverts. I also met, effectively, family member on the train as well, all that time back. And the one thing I would say about Justin Kluivert is that he's excelled under Andoni Iraola. Like they said, he should have stayed at Ajax. He shouldn't have gone, elsewhere. He would have propelled himself more as a player. Um, what else do you think Kluivert needs to do, to make himself even better?
Well, I'd be a bit controversial with Cliver, because to me, he needs to get out of the reputation of penalty taker. Yes, he is brilliant at penalty taking and that, but he wants to be an overall player and stuff like that. I mean, Andoni kept bringing him in and out, so I think maybe fitness needs to be improved in that. But if you take away the penalties, which I think and I don't know how many Kluivert actually got penalties wise. I don't think it was many that was by him.
Well, he scored a hat trick at Wolves.
So, so yeah, I think he needs to get away from that penalty taker. That needs to get it ever. I understand what happened, and maybe we'll go into that bit in a sec. But yeah, I think he needs to get his own place in that, and I say take more chances and that, and fitness, and I just don't see him as we got so much exciting going forward. It's a really big competition, and I say he was in and out the side, especially the end of last season. So any player that's been in and out, they need to get that position locked down, like Semenyo and that. They need to lock down their position, and Kluivert, for me, hasn't done that yet.
I tell you what, let's talk about the three strikers, or the three key strikers, in a little bit more detail. So Evanilson, Enes Ünal, and of course, Eli Junior Krupi, who I think he's got an outstanding future at this football club. Eli Junior Krupi, Malcolm sings his praises a lot. And I think he's exciting. I think he's very, very, very exciting. What do you think? Do you think Eva is going to keep his position? What do you think is going to happen to NSU now? And do you think Krupi will get his chances?
First of all, I'd say with Ünal, he'll be probably sent on loan. I was a big fan of Ünal, and I thought he could step it up when Eva got injured, and I thought he could do a job there. But I think even Bournemouth fans that weren't keen on Ünal felt so sorry for him to get that injury as soon as that was his opportunity. You couldn't. That was basically the Dino Senesi thing, but the stars felt different. So I like Ünal. He's suddenly shown he can do a free kick. But yeah, I think he's going to be sent out on loan, and I think that's, as much as I would love him as around as a second option and stuff like that. He needs to get those minutes in and show he's got that, because he was never given an opportunity to show he's got the talent that I think personally he has. As for Eva, I think he scored 10 goals last season. As a player, you want to just keep improving. So you've got to be looking to aim for 15 to 20 goals. I think at the beginning of the season, he was getting called offside quite often, a bit lightweight in that. It improved as the season went on. But yeah, carry on improving in those and get those 15 to 20 goals. And then for Coupe, then I ain't seen him really play that much, so it's hard to say with him and that. But Andoni loves young stars, that he loves giving players chances. So if Coupe's given a chance, take it and that. I'd be very surprised if he does. I think he will be an impact sub, whereas Ever used to get full 90 minutes quite often, or different things. I think with this lineup, we'll have more flexibility to change it around. Again, presuming we don't get injuries. So yeah, I think get Krupe in, get him in cups certainly and stuff like that, and because I don't know if he has played in English league, any English league at all. I don't think he has. So yeah, start giving him the chances, and then he's got to show what all the talk was about, and if he is as good as what people have said.
Well, he had a sterling season for Lorient last season, so yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, he can bring that over here. And there's one player that we want to mention right at the very end as well, Luis Sinisterra. I really like Luis Sinisterra. I think he's such an exciting player, but very, very injury prone. Can we expect to see him much next season, do you reckon? Or do we have to be conscious that maybe he is a player that, is going to be dogged with those, a little bit like a lot of people said Lewis Cook was going to be all that time ago. Do we think that he might be a little bit dogged with injuries throughout his career again?
Yeah, he's certainly looked like he could be an injury player for a lot of seasons. But I don't think he'll be. I think he'll be kept around, and due to the injuries and that, when you've got lots of injuries and that, you're happy to stay at a club more likely, even if you're not playing every week and that. And when he's come back from injury, Andoni's quite often played him. So to me, that's why I would say that he's gonna be on the bench if we got room, because I say there's so much exciting forward talent we've got. I haven't worked out the numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the bench, and just hopefully he can continue making those impacts, because he's scored some important goals in that, and hopefully he can continue doing that, but remain injury free. So when we do have some other injuries, he's actually still around to be able to do it.
Well, you was going to give. Well, to be honest, you've given us some surprises by saying this player's not going to be in the squad, this player's not going to be in the squad. Sean, give us your squad.
Oh God, you have to go through that. Okay.
Everybody's asking to finish off. Let's hear this squad.
I've got to work out. No, I should have written that down. I guess you would ask that. Okay, so let's see. We're trying to go for it. So goalkeeper. Trying to think of the names, new players. So Petrovic, obviously goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I would put Julian as right back, Zabs and Hill centre backs, and then whether the new Truffert, as left back. Got Semenyo Dango on the wings. Adams, central defence. Christie and Scott in the midfield. Evanilson up front. Would that be 11?
That will be 11. Yeah, that will be 11. I'll tell you what, you did well there. Remember it off your head. But yeah, interesting. Everybody in the chat is where they get to, disagree. Leave your lineups and what you would play for the first game of the season. If it was to stay as it is at the moment, what you would play as the starting lineup against Liverpool. But Sean, it's going to be exciting.
Oh, we could actually. One other thing we could do, a little question for other people as well. obviously we've got Evanilson up front.
Mhm.
If he got injured after the way Dango played, I can't admit, Dango, would you put him up front, especially at the beginning to try it, or would you risk it on the talent that's coming over but hasn't played in the Premier League? That's a bit of a, which way would you go? What's people's thoughts on that if Evanilson got injured?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because let's be honest, Dango probably put in the best attacking performance of the entire season against Nottingham Forest. And let's be fair, that was not a surprise result. It wasn't because Forest played badly. Forest went and beat Brighton the following week 7-0. So it says something. Um, Do you know what? You've got to go with Dango, I think.
Yeah.
My honest truth. Yeah, I think you got to probably go with Dango based on if he can replicate what he did against Nottingham Forest. Hey, why not? Why
I'll
not?
turn you into a big Dango fan eventually.
Yeah. But Sean, it's always a pleasure for you to come on, and no doubt, we shall speak to you very, very soon. But no, thank you again, mate. And yeah,
Yeah,
we shall see you in the next video.
yeah, up the cherries.
And thank you everybody for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please do check out all of our other shows. We had a show about the new stadium, so that is on here. We've also had lots of other shows as well. We have also had lots of celebrity guests, Richie Neville, David Icke, Tom Meehan from Kasabian, Damon Minchella from Ocean Colour Scene, Matt Priest from Dodgy, you name it, we've had them on here. So hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell button. We'll see you in the next one, Cherries fans. Thank you for joining us.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.